You're listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt, where we talk about hunting, shooting, fishing, camping, and everything else that the great outdoors has to offer. Let's get into it. I'm super excited about this one because as a PE teacher, we look at, adversity and resilience, and this story, this gentleman I've got on tonight, he's the epitome of this. I just can't wait to get right into it. So tonight, Derek Demun is with us all the way over from the US, and I believe it's California. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Mate, people in Australia probably don't know you, but I've been following him for a while and it's pretty inspirational. I will say that. And I'm a big fan because it highlights to me a couple of things. A, your ability and your resilience, which is amazing. And then secondly, the hunting and shooting sports are just so inclusive. So let's get into you and what's your story. So you go by the T8 Outdoorsman, and I'm going to take a stab at it being a PE teacher and knowing a bit about anatomy. The T8 part is the thoracic vertebrae, and number 8 is probably what has been damaged. Is that correct?
Yeah, I broke the T8 vertebrae in about like 8 or 9 pieces. It was called a catastrophic spinal cord injury and a burst fracture. So when it broke, it went in all kinds of different pieces. They had to glue me back together, and T8. I figured, make the most of it while I.
Yeah, well, it works. It makes sense. And as soon as I saw that, I went, oh, that makes sense to me. I don't know if, people that aren't as up to speed with anatomy might know, but it's one of those things. I don't think people understand how delicate the spinal cord is. And when I teach my students, we talk about how the spinal cord's consistency could be sort of related to that of toothpaste. So it is pretty easy to damage it and then be like yourself in a wheelchair and a paraplegic now. How did the accident happen?
So I used to travel the world snowboarding. I was, from 17 years old all the way out to, I got hurt at 21. I was just jumping from continent to continent, drilled all over the United States, moved out to Australia, lived out there for 6 months, and then came back here and was working a side job to get a plane ticket down to New Zealand. And, just happened to slip off. It was a hot day. It was a gravel roof, and I stepped back, and the gravel gave out underneath me, and I just tipped off right over the side, and it landed on my shoulders with my feet up in the air. So if you could, your feet up in the air and you land, and it just went like that. The spine broke, and instantly, I knew I was paralyzed, and it was tough, man. It was tough first couple years, dude. Not gonna lie, it was absolutely catastrophic, but eventually, over time, things just, you realize you got to pick your head up, pick your feet up, and just keep going. No one out here is gonna save you. You got to do it on your own. People are out there; they'll help you, they'll give you a hand, they'll lead you, they'll show you the direction you got to go. But it's up to you to find that inner strength and to. It's just to find the resilience and just keep on going.
And mate, credit to you because you have, as I said, embodied that and showing that. So that's really great to see. Australia, you were here for a bit, and I believe when we were talking, you were saying the Snowy Mountains.
Yeah, I lived in the ski town of Jindabyne.
Yeah, great spot.
Beautiful, man. My balcony was overlooking the lake, and it was just gorgeous. And I was out there, and I was 19 years old and worked up. I was a dishwasher. I got to snowboard all day, wash dishes for 5-6 hours at night. At that point in my life, it was like, if I had food and a roof over my head, that's all I cared about. That's all that mattered to me. So yeah, I was riding up at Parasha, and it was fun, man. It was a great time. A lot of great memories out there. A lot of cool people too.
Mate, it is such a beautiful spot. And I tend to do most of my hunting on public land down in the Snowy Mountains. And I just love it down there. And I'm a big snow skier. I've never done the snowboard thing because people have sort of told me that it's a bit harder than skiing, and I just picked up skiing. So it is on the bucket list to try and get the. I've got a couple of little kids, so get them down there and get them into it because it's bloody awesome. I don't know if you would have known, but because it's been a while now. How old are you now?
35.
Okay, so and you were here at 19. So we're talking a 16-year period. The area now is riddled with deer.
Really?
It is unbelievable. Yeah. So fallow deer are probably the main ones down there. And when you're driving up to the mountain, so I used to stay halfway up the mountain, and you'd be driving up of a night and you just, oh my God, the deer there and some of the racks on them, it's just awesome.
I bet.
It's cool to see now, and oh man, it's just such a great spot. It's a great part of the world. The trout fishing, the scenery, it's just all over. It's bloody amazing. So you've got some cool stories. So full transparency here, I'm still chasing my first deer, and I'm doing it tough and in the hard yards and not been successful just yet, getting close, which has been such an awesome journey. And I am similar to yourself. I've been an adult onset hunter. I believe you took up hunting after the injury. Is that correct?
Yeah. I took it. My first hunt was about 3 or 4 years post injury.
How did that come about? Where did you, had you always wanted to dabble in hunting? Is it just because you love the outdoor pursuits, being, a snowboarder and traveling the world for that?
Yeah, so when I was a snowboarder, I was doing a lot of backcountry, and I was getting way out miles into the backcountry, and out here we have all kinds of critters out here. We got moose and bears, deer, sheep, goats, all wide range, and I was always constantly seeing them, and then trying to creep up as close as you possibly can, and just doing all that. So I always had like the itch to start harvesting my own animals and start feeding my family off natural game and stuff from the land. And I always had that itch to do it. And then when I got hurt, I had told my uncle's a big hunter out here down in one of our states of Arizona, and he had come across an opportunity that he did some work for a family friend, and the family friend had some property. And the guy's like, instead of paying you cash, would I be able to give you a hunt? My uncle's like, yeah, that's great, but my nephew, in a wheelchair, would really like to get out there and try it. And the guy's like, yeah, come on out, and I went out there and I harvested my first female white-tailed deer, little doe, and after that, it was on. And because going from snowboarding and chasing that adrenaline rush, and then being completely shut off from that avenue, and having like this desire to seek adrenaline but not have anywhere to find it. And then once I was able to take my first animal, and the dump of adrenaline and dopamine all at one time, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going all over the world. I'm doing it all now. Like
I'm hooked.
Yeah. So a couple of years later, here I am.
That's awesome. I love it. It's well, talking of bears, so our very first episode for this podcast was we had Clint from the States, and he had a real close run in to the point where he hit a grizzly through the head with an ice pick as it was chasing the guide. It was bloody cool. You've had a bit of a run in with bears too, haven't you?
Oh my gosh, yeah, upstate. I ran into a couple bears, but my upstate bear in a state we have in Maine. It's on the Canadian border, about 2 hours from the Canadian border, and it's a baited hunt. So what they do is they have these big giant barrels about the size of a trash bin, probably 3.5 feet high, and the guy I was hunting with, he was friends with the local pastry maker. So at the end of the day, the guy would get rid of all his donuts and his pastries and stuff like that. So the outfitter, the guy whose property I was hunting on, got to take all those donuts, filled the trash can up, and we're sitting there, me and my dad, and I'm sitting leaning up against a tree, and my dad is no more than 4 or 5 feet to my left, leaning up against another tree. a bear comes out, quiet as can be. You can't. These things are silent. Those paws are super soft, and he was on us in a heartbeat. And then so we're watching him. He goes and he grabs his donut, and he goes about 10 feet to the left, or probably trying to think. Y'all go by meters out there. Oh,
It's all good.
3 meters. Let's go 3 meters. He went 3 meters off to the left and was eating his donut. And then I don't know the proper term for it, but he had this loud yelp. He's like, "Woof!" And he turned around 180 degrees and ran as fast as he could. Well, what's 180 degrees downrange of this bear is me and my dad. And every foot paw that hit the ground was thud, 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 thud. Like you could feel the earth move, like it's boom, and we're like, oh shoot. And this thing was on us like that. So about from where we were sitting to where that barrel of donuts was and the bear was probably 11 meters. So this bear was on us like that. He got to within 5 feet of us, and he didn't know we were there because we were camouflaged. We had our scent killer. We're hiding behind our little makeshift. We put branches and trees in front of us to kind of give that depth perception of us looking natural. And he got within 5 feet. He was gonna run right between me and my dad. And like I said, me and my dad are no more than a meter apart. Like we were super close to each other. And if he would have hit my dad, like my dad was leaning up against a tree and that bear was running full speed. If he would have hit my dad, you got a fast moving object running against something that's still. My dad would have been dusted. He would have been definitely broken bones. He would have been very injured. So what had happened is he got about 2 feet out from me, and I threw my hands up. I'm like, "Hey, bear!" And I screamed it, and this bear hits his brakes all 4 feet at once, kicks up all this dirt and sticks. And my dad, goes like this for all the dirt and stuff like that. The bear looks up at me, and he's already scared from whatever scared him downrange to make him turn and run. His eyes were the size of, his eyes were huge. And he looked at me and he was scared and went and he turned. But when he turned right. What's laying there is my dad. So my dad's back is up against the tree and his legs are out like that. So my dad's sitting like that against the tree and his legs are flat like that. My dad's hands are up due to all the debris getting thrown in his face. And the bear turns 90 degrees, and what's 90 degrees to his right is my dad. So this bear jumped, thinking my dad's a log or something. He jumps over my dad and brushes up against my dad's arms. That's how close this bear got. His fur brushes up against my dad's arm. My dad's arm like this. Bear gets over and he takes off running. Just takes off running. And I look down at my dad. I'm like, my dad's just staring at the ground like this. I'm like, Dad. And like that, the fourth time, my dad just looks up at me and goes, "That was a big bear." Just spooked. I've never seen him so scared in my life. Like, my dad's eyes were that big. Now he's like, "That was a big bear, dude." And I just died laughing. I almost peed myself. I was laughing so hard. My dad, his hands were like shaking, dude. That was a big bear. He's like, "I've never been that close. That thing was right on me. His fur brushed up against me. Da 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 da." But what had spooked that bear was another bear that came in. So we're both pumping on adrenaline and we're like, "Oh my gosh, no way did that just happen." And this other bear comes in. He's not much. The first bear was probably, I don't know. We go by pounds out here. It's probably 110 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilos. Probably
45 kilos, somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that. And then the other one was not much bigger. Let's go 50 kilos. And I have so much adrenaline pumping through my body, and then I go and I put my optic up on the deer, and I got that scope that close to my face. And when I shot the bear, that next bear that came in, I was like, "Oh, he's bigger. I'm taking him." And I did that, and the scope smacked me right in the face, and it split. I don't know if you can see it. It split me right here, right down the face, dude. And I have a video on my Instagram. I am leaking blood off my nose, off my chin. It's all in my teeth. I'm wiping it like this, trying to get it off of my face. You know, I got blood all over me, but I'm cloud nine. I'm like, I just shot a big bear. Like, I was super stoked, dude. Like, it was so funny. And I'm like covered in blood. I'm like, Dad, dude, my dad's behind me. He's like, yeah, dude. And like, we get up to see the bear. It's not much bigger, but he's a little tiny bear. I'm like, oh, darn, dude. Like, this thing's the size of like a dog. I'm like, but whatever. It's the adventure and it's the storyline. You know what I mean? Like, it was insane. It was a cool story. But the thing that bugs me the most about that is I had a GoPro on me, a GoPro head mount. And I was looking at it before I got out of the car, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave this here on the dashboard. Dude, if I would have had that GoPro on my head to catch that entire sequence, oh my gosh, it would have been epic footage. I kick myself to this day, and I'd never go out into the field without a camera strapped to my head. Lesson lived, lesson learned.
That would be cool footage. I am absolutely fascinated with bears, and especially close encounters. And I just froth on it, to be honest. But man, I can understand your dad just having it brush past him in shock. That's I don't think it matters how big or small the bear is. That's a full-on turn of events. And especially, I think yesterday I saw that 2 hikers and their dog were killed by a grizzly somewhere over there, and there was another one.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, it happens quite often, and it's very funny. It's such a. I look at it and go, I hear Americans generally say, "Oh, you guys have got so many dangerous animals because we got snakes," and it's like, man, they're tiny, and realistically, you can wear gaiters to protect yourself. And I'd much rather deal with snakes any day of the week than over there. You've got bears and wolves and mountain lions, and yeah, man, like such a different level of predators. Whereas the snake's not really, predating on humans. You might step on it, and it might, aggravate it. That's probably where they're going to attack you, but they're not actively hunting you out like some of those other things you guys face over there. That's it's a different level.
I'm like, most of the time bears will especially black bears, they're the smaller species of bears, they'll most likely take off running unless it's a mom guarding its cubs or guarding a food source. Brown bears and grizzly bears are more, they'll more stand up to they'll tend to run too, but they'll more stand up and defend themselves on their own because they're absolutely gigantic animals, man. But I would say mountain lions are for me personally, the scariest predator out there because they are so quiet, so silent. They'll be 10 feet above you laying on a rock just watching you, and you'll have no idea it's there. It'll walk up beside you. It'll creep behind you, just being super quiet with their paws, just silent, just super stealthy, and just, yeah, they're a sketchy animal, but they're beautiful creatures.
Oh, and big. I don't think people realize how big they can get. And I remember seeing Derek Wolf, he's ex-Denver Broncos player, the mountain lion he took, and he's a big boy. He's on the defensive team there, and he's a big unit, and him holding this damn thing, it was just massive, and he took it with a bow, which is pretty cool. Mate, you don't just hunt with the rifle. You use a bow and a crossbow as well. And what's your favorite out of those, and why?
I would say my compound bow, just because it's a whole... With the rifle, you can shoot something out way off in the distance, it's not. But the bow and arrow it's a whole nother game of stealth, and it gets you closer to the animal. You have to be quieter. Your camouflage and your scent has to be way more on point because you're that much closer to the animal. I mean, crossbows are cool too, but I'm not going to lie, crossbows tend to scare me, man, because there's a lot of power back in that cord, and if you accidentally hit something you're not supposed to and that thing shoots off. My uncle took off his thumb. I had a friend take off the tip of his finger. Those things are no joke. So I tend to stay with my bow and arrow, my compound bow, and it just gets the the skill level and the challenge is that's what we're there for. You know what I mean? Yeah, we can get an animal, we can, we can kill, we could do whatever, but it's the adventure, it's the silence, it's the being out in nature and just, yeah, man, it's the bow and arrow is definitely my route to go. Definitely been blessed to take a couple animals with that, and I got one with a crossbow too. Don't get me wrong, but it's yeah, the bow and arrow. I think it's a lot funner.
I feel you there. I love just shooting it. Like I can do it here at home, and it's just so peaceful and relaxing when you're just getting out there and letting arrows fly. And it's something that
Therapeutic.
it is. It's thoroughly enjoyable, and you touched on it there too. Just being out in nature. Like I was sitting there the other day because I went for a hunt last week, and it was just. I come from a city. I'm guessing you're similar over there in Cali, and it's hustle and bustle. It's fast paced. It's you're always on the move, and especially nowadays, just technology and there's positives because you and I are talking now from the other side of the world, and that's a great thing. But then I also love that disconnect and getting away from the tech and just going out to the bush. And I tend to pick those spots on where I hunt which hasn't got phone reception, and it hasn't, I am disconnected because then you just get out there and you see things that just like, one of my favorite all time experiences was I was just sitting there and I had an echidna just walk up and go through my legs because I was just a part of the bush. It didn't even know I was there. And,
Right.
Things like that. There's so many people you sit there and go, how many people has that happened to? And that's
Right.
the beauty of what we do, just being out there, and then the rest of it's just on top of that's a bonus for me. Like I love that adventure, as you said, getting out there and putting yourself amongst nature. It's just so great. What have you harvested, and what has been your favorite? Because I'm dying. I've been over the States a couple of times, and the wife lived there for a couple of months, and she was in New York City, so we did a bit of a travel, went up north, and that was cool because I saw a heap of whitetail deer. We drove up to the drove up to Niagara Falls and seen a heap of whitetail. I was sitting, when we were going up, that was so cool, just seeing all these awesome deer. And then I'm super fascinated and I love turkey hunting, just watching it and the gobbling and things like that. And then the elk are just next level. What have you been able to harvest over there, and what is also on the list?
So I've I don't know if you can see that right there is my first archery kill. That's an antelope. It goes by antelope, pronghorn, speed goat. They got several different names, and then that's a whitetail buck. That's my biggest whitetail. I've gotten several whitetails, several antelope. I've gotten that black bear that I told you the story about. I got a big hog. We have a really bad hog problem out here in the southern states, and I got about these 350. I go by pounds,
That's all
kilos.
good. Just throw the pounds. It's 2.2 pounds per kilo.
Yeah, it's a 350 pounds. It's a giant pig. I got an alligator. I got an alligator with a harpoon and a crossbow and a harpoon. Yeah, that's what I've been putting up so far. I've got an elk. I got a female elk. That's a strictly meat hunt. I'm not going for any big racks or anything like that. Just putting food in the freezer for the family. And then this winter, it's a cow's deer or a coos deer, however you want to say it. It's a a species of sub whitetail. It's the westernmost whitetail species found in America, and they're small. They're a small deer. They're called gray ghosts for a reason. They're gray in color, and the terrain they stay in is gray, so they'll creep around. I got that going on, and I got a axis deer coming down here in a state we got called Texas, and then another cow elk hunt, and that's this year. And then the springtime is a whole nother ball game. I'm gonna try to go for a bear. I want to get a bigger bear because I look at my bear. He's up there in the corner on the roof, and he's not very big, and I'm like, oh, man, I shot a baby bear, dude. So I gotta go fill some freezer meat because that bear meat is very delicious. It's good. A lot of people talk down on it, but I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, it's on the list for me to try. That's for sure. You mentioned Texas there, and I know we've been talking. You're more NHL, but I'm a massive NFL or gridiron fan, and I go for the Dallas Cowboys, which has been a rough ride over the last few years, but that's cool. Playing a bit better this season. We're looking all right. So, but it's only round 4, so it's early days. Man, some of the ranches and some of the gear out there, some of the animals. Oh my god, just like nilgai, and you just name it. That looks, I think, on my list is to get out to Texas, and whether it be hogs or it be just the vast array of animals out there. Have you done much hunting around the Texas area?
Yeah, so I got to do my funnest hunt of my life was out in Texas. I got to do hog hunting out of a helicopter.
Oh yeah,
We're flying around the helicopter, and the pilot's ex-military, so I'm expecting a nice calm fly. This guy's like, like going all sideways. I'm like, whoa, bro, like, relax, man. All I have is a big seatbelt on me, dude. But hanging out the end, and it was just wide open. Unlimited ammo, unlimited hogs. There's so many hogs, and I didn't know the damage that those things are doing to the terrain. But they're destroying people's properties. They're killing off all the cattle. Like they're eating all the food, and I've heard stories of them snatching children and eating. They'll go and they'll have like 2 or 3 litters a year, up to like 9 pigs at a time. So you can imagine just the domino effect of that. And been doing that, but yeah, I'm going out there actually in December for those axis deer. So the cool thing about Texas is that they have a lot of exotic ranches. Like a lot of these animals that you see over in Africa, you can find them in Texas as well. So if you don't have that kind of money to go down to Africa and all that, it ends up being a lot of money with the airplane, the stay, the hunt, the taxidermy, all that ends up. So you go to Texas, and a lot of these ranches have these exotic animals out there, and so I'm excited to go out there, and touch base on that terrain again and see what I can fill my freezer with.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm envious that Texas is just. I guess if there's any spot in the world I could probably want to live apart from where I do, it would be Texas. I think it's got everything that I want, whether it be the hunting, whether it be the footy, you name it. I definitely know about pigs. We have a feral pig problem down here, and they are everywhere. And as I said, I was just out the last week hunting in the snowies, and I didn't see any pigs. Got a few on my trail cams, but they turn up the ground, and it's so easy to see their diggings and the damage that they do. And as you said, they breed prolifically, like it's nuts.
Yeah.
I was watching a video the other week because a lot of people don't understand, that they'll eat a vast array of whether it be carrion or actually live animals. And I saw one taking, baby lambs and eating baby lambs out here. So you can understand why the farmers don't want them on their properties and how much damage they do as well and competing for food. And there's just a whole vast array of issues with those pigs. Mate, let's talk about your dad because he's on your trips, and I think that's pretty cool because he's similar to my old man. He doesn't hunt, but he's there with you for the journey and filming and the like. How did that all come about? And yeah, let's talk about that.
So yeah, my dad doesn't hire anything. He's got an eye problem, so he can't really see when shooting optics and looking through both sights and stuff. So he tags along, and with me being in the wheelchair, like I do most of my life on my own, but there's some times where I need help getting pushed through the forest, like going on a wheelchair, and you got your arms and you're going over logs and sticks and rocks and boulders. It's tough, man. Like there's a lot of times where I'm like, I can't do it. You got to humble yourself. But as Pops comes in, Pops is there logistically, and he gets just as stoked when I harvest something as if it was himself, because first off, he gets to eat it. He's a great cook, so he gets to eat it as well. But then he just enjoys the travel, like just going, like what I said earlier, you go out in the morning and it's pitch black out and there's not a sound. Maybe you hear crickets and grasshoppers and stuff like that. But then once the sun comes up, the birds start chirping, the little squirrels and the animals come out, the deer start coming out. You see the world wake up. And that's not something you really get to see living where we do personally. It's not really a city. It's more of like a suburban, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's he just likes getting away as well, and like when I go on my hunts, I save up a lot of money because he's been taking me surfing, snowboarding my whole life. He spent countless amounts of money on me personally. So now that I'm able to provide financially as well, so I like to take him along just to be like, hey, you scratched my back, now it's my turn to scratch yours, dude. So we go out in the blind and we sit there and like, you ain't sitting here for free, bro. You're gonna film this, you know what I mean? So like get him behind the camera and he enjoys it. But it's just cool to have somebody along with you, along for the ride, to enjoy those memories together, you know what I mean? Because like when I harvested my alligator from a boat, like he was holding on to my chair while the alligator's hitting our boat and our boat's rocking back and forth. My dad's holding my chair and I'm like holding this harpoon, like trying not to fall in the water. And it's just those little things, like it's like, yeah, you can tell a story to someone, but if you have somebody that's there to corroborate your story and just get just as excited as you are about that story, it means a lot more, you know what I mean? So it's just a lot of fun having him, bringing him along, and yeah, it's cool hunting partner. I like him. He's a good guy.
It's special because I sit there and go, that journey and all the things you get to do together, that's pretty cool. And I can see the benefit to it and what a win, and making those memories so that you've always got them. That's pretty cool. The alligator, what's going on there? Like that's that's something different.
Yeah, it was insane. So we went down to Florida. Me and my dad flew down to Florida and we hunted a lake called Lake Okeechobee. And it's actually the biggest body of water outside of the Great Lakes in North America. So, we get in there and we're on a boat, and I'm not sure the terminology of the boat, but so there's the front of the boat that's elevated, and then it drops down where you drive your boat. But we come across and we're glassing for alligators, and I've never been alligator hunting, so I have no idea what I'm looking at. I'm just seeing logs and bushes and stuff in the water, and I saw my first alligator. When I saw my first alligator, I was like, that's cool. And then I scan over, and there's just gators everywhere. Like, Lake Okeechobee has the largest population of alligators, I think, in the world. And just alligators everywhere. I was like, oh my gosh, we go and we find a big one and a big boy. And we go, and the way that we were hunting them is they have a raw chicken, and they have this like line wrapped around the chicken, and they have it attached to fishing line. It's about 300 pound test, 400 pound test. They use it for like big bluefin tunas and marlin and stuff like that. And then they have it on a giant fishing rod. And then we go, so we drop that chicken and we drive probably 300 yards past the alligator, and you bounce that chicken up and down with your fishing rod like you're jigging for fish, and bounce the gator, feels that vibration on the water, comes up and boom, nabs it, throws his head back, swallows it. So then we go and we turn on our trolling motor on the boat, and we creep up we get right on top of that gator, because after they swallow that chicken or their food in general, they'll go down to the bottom of the lake and they'll just lay there, and they'll let their body and their gut dissolve whatever they have just eaten. So we go right on top of it, reel this thing up. I mean, it's like 400 pounds. I couldn't do it because of where my injury's at. I don't have very good core strength. My ab muscles aren't really there anymore, so like I couldn't do it. So I handed the rod off to our buddy. He got it up to the top, and right when he got up to the top, I had a crossbow. And so on an alligator, You're supposed to aim right behind the eyes. There's a diamond where their brain is, and you want to hit that brain spot to take them out as soon as you can, because you do not want an angry alligator knowing that it's fighting for its life and they're gonna fight. It's a dinosaur. It's a dinosaur. It's a straight up dinosaur. And so I popped it, and when I shot it, the gator kind of jumped up, and I missed that spot on the head, and the arrow went through one cheek and out the other. Man, he did not like that. This guy started thrashing his tail, bam, bam, hitting up against the boat. We had probably 5 people on the boat. Everyone's holding on to something. My dad's holding on to me. I'm holding on for dear life to my wheelchair, just praying my dad doesn't go in, because if he goes in, I'm going in. And I got a pissed off alligator there. I'm like, oh, no, this ain't working out very well, dude. So we go, and then he goes, the alligator kind of calms down, and we bring him around, and the outfitter hands me a harpoon. It was probably a 7-foot rod with a big broadhead on the tip of it. And I threw the harpoon, and I got him in the good spot. And he was kind of dazed. I didn't quite get him perfectly. So they brought him up close to the boat, and they have what's called a bang stick. It's about a 6-foot metal rod with a shotgun shell, or in this case, we had a .357 Magnum shell at the very end. And you stab it, but you stab it right in that brain part. You stab it, and that bullet goes off inside whatever you just hit. So bang, it goes off right inside of his head. Water splashing all over me, and this thing bellied up, and we got him up to the boat. Outfitter goes up. He has a roll of electric tape, wraps his mouth shut, because that's the last thing you want opening up at the last second. When you're bringing him on board, is the business end of the deal, dude. And brought him up on the boat, threw him up on the boat, and he was about as long as the boat. We were on a 19-foot boat, and this gator measured out 11 foot 6 inches, so it's close to 12 feet. It was a big boy. I have that entire encounter of that alligator hunt on my Instagram if anyone interested here and would watching it. Yeah, it's on there, and it's pretty intense. And you know what, when everything's happening, you're thinking oh my gosh, this is 10-15 minutes long, but in real life it was probably 4 or 5 minutes maybe, but it all happened so quick, and I can remember every detail. I remember what kind of birds were chirping, the water, what was I wearing, what my dad was wearing, everything. You can remember everything. All the little details are etched in your memory forever and ever. And so it was intense, man. And so the only part of the alligator that's really edible are the cheeks and the tail. You can eat most of the alligator. I know there's probably gonna be some alligator hunters out there. Oh, you can eat the whole thing, but and what I was able to do when we skinned it out, it was a really strong rubber. The entire alligator is just a rubber. The thing's made to kill. It's a dinosaur, and it's an absolute lethal machine, and so I just kept the tail, and I kept the cheeks, and I don't have you can deep fry a lot of it. That's how most people eat the alligator, but yeah, he's a beautiful, beautiful critter. I went and I got him turned into a rug. I got an 11-foot alligator rug on my wall. I'm actually looking at him right now. Just beautiful, beautiful animal. Just, I didn't know how often am I going to go and hunt a dinosaur? I want to do it justice. So he's just beautiful animal. Intense situation. It was just another cool story in the books for sure.
We have crocodiles down here, obviously, salties and freshies, and they are one of my favorite meats to eat. The tail, as you were saying, just tail steaks is just fantastic. I sort of say it's a bit of a cross between chicken and fish in flavor and similar sort of texture as well, I suppose, if you had a combination. Because they're down here, we have them as classified as a protected species, like most of our native animals. They just breed and breed. And as you said, they're like a dinosaur. They're the perfect killing machine that's just been perfected over generations. And their numbers are so big. And it always shocks me a little bit as to why we don't harvest them or have some sort of selling hunts to be able to harvest them and utilize both the animal and their meat. We breed them in farms and things like that for that purpose. And it's always been something that I sort of struggle with, going, we've got this perfectly sustainable resource out in the bush, but instead we're going to farm it and let that because nothing's killing them. They are the apex predator. And I sit there and go, I am a big fan of the North American conservation model. I love what you guys do over there with the tag system and the money going back into conservation and the tax on all the ammunition and firearms that go to it too. It makes sense. And, it's just such a great contribution that hunters make back to the wilderness. That's a win for everybody in my mind. Mate, you got some cool stories and you've had some pretty cool experiences. What has been some of the other side of the coin, some of the challenges being in a wheelchair and hunting? Because, I'll put my hand up and say there's times when I'm walking up hills, I'm noisy and things like that. I can't even imagine what it would be like in a wheelchair to be out hunting because I battle sometimes myself.
Yeah, I tend to stay away from hills, obviously. I'll stick to ravines and flatlands, and I tend to aim more for food sources and water sources. And so that's the main thing, is having a wheelchair that's able to access that kind of terrain. My first wheelchair was not. It's a regular wheelchair. The problem is wheelchairs have four wheels. You got your big wheels that you sit on, and then where your feet go, you have a little tiny wheel, and those are called your casters. Those tiny wheels are the ones that dig into the ground and prevent you from going places. So I've had to, save up money, invest, engineer one to where now my off-road chair, I got casters that are the size of a basketball, pretty close, and that helps out. But yeah, it's a lot of it is just the terrain. There's a lot of terrain that you can't access. I'm going to be real. Like, you could, don't get me wrong. Where there's a will, there's a way. But I like to do a lot of solo hunting where I just drive my truck out and get in my chair and figure it out from there. You know what I mean? And so just fighting uphill terrain. And then just logistics, when you're going to hotel rooms and stuff like that, you got to make sure everything's handicap accessible, blah, blah, blah. You want to make sure you get able to get into the restroom. A lot of the doors and places are skinny and your chair's that wide and the door's only that wide, and run into a lot of problems like that. And then it's just the travel, dude, the getting around, and it's a humbling experience. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, there's a lot of pros to getting out into the field, but it's also like a strong reminder that, like, hey, dude, you're in a wheelchair, bro. Like, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do, how you want to do it, when all you want to do. I mean, like, there's a level of humbleness, dude, that you have to realize that you're not going to be able to just get up and hike. Oh, there's a deer way up there. You're like, cool, he's way up. What am I going to do about it? You know what I mean? Like, I can't get out there and walk. But now, like, what I've also just recently invested in, it's called a track chair. I don't know if y'all have heard of that.
I haven't, no.
It's a wheelchair, and instead of the wheel, it's like a triangle, but it's like tank treads, like an army tank.
Oh, yeah.
Treads on them, and they have motors on them, and with those you can smash up hills, and they got little joystick. You smash up those. So I can't wait to get that and to see where I could get deep and with one of those, and see, because I have several friends out here. We got a nice little community going on of us outdoorsmen who are disabled and in wheelchairs, and several of my friends have them, and like it's a game changer. It just gets you to a lot of places where you. Like, I'm a big gym guy. I go to the gym. I try to work out as much as I possibly can so I could be as fit as possibly can, so I can get myself into positions to hunt. That's my whole reason. Like, I don't care about looking good. I don't care about being skinny. Like, I want to be strong. I want to be able to push myself into spots that I need to get to accomplish my goal. I got a goal out there, and my family's dedicated or believing in me to bring home food for them. So I'm going to do whatever I possibly can. And yeah, I'll just say the logistics behind the type of wheelchair you're able to access and have. And with that new wheelchair I've got and the other wheelchair I've got, I'm going to start, from my goal out here is to personally open up an outdoorsman outfitter type deal to help people in wheelchairs be able to get out there and just to be able to hunt, be able to do what they can do with these wheelchairs, because I don't want to have my wheelchair and then me sitting on my wheelchair when there's somebody out there in my position. Like, man, I wish I could do that, but I don't have the opportunity or the right equipment. Well, I got the right equipment, so you contact me and we're gonna get it done, dude. We're gonna get out there. We might not get an animal of a man, but I will get you out there, and we're gonna freaking crank on it, dude. So I would say more it's about the logistics behind your equipment. Yeah,
I love it. I love that advocacy for, people like yourself and wanting to expose them to nature and give them opportunities. That's just such a fantastic thing. You touched on there, and I was able to resonate a little bit. Like, obviously, we're obviously different, but the humble side of it. And I get that from nature. Like, when you're out there and you're in the middle of nowhere and you sit there and go, hey, if something goes wrong here, I'm in big trouble.
you're not the top dog. You're not the top.
You're
dog.
not. No, and that it does give you that sense of, humility and understanding that, for all the great things that humans have, we can still be so vulnerable. And I love that sensation or that feeling, because you don't really get it in your day-to-day life. So I can see that connection, not only with what you, face on a day-to-day basis being in a wheelchair, but then also in the wilderness or in the bush as well. It does make a lot of sense. And look, you also touch on there. I love the gym. I've got a gym here at home, and because as a PE teacher, it's been a passion of mine. I've been a bit slack since I had twins, and that was a hell of a ride because, I was stupid enough to think, just two, they'll be right. It's only double the nappies, and it didn't work that way. They'll sleep at the same time. That didn't work that way. And so I haven't been as good as I wanted to be, but they're getting older now. So I'm back in the gym and back running, and I just love it. And it is the driving force too. I look at it similar to you, setting those milestones or those goals to be as fit as possible, so that when you get out there for a hunt, you are in as best shape you can be to make it more enjoyable and to do more of it, because you do get those smaller windows. Well, I do anyway. I tend to, only have a small window in the school holidays to get away and go for a hunt. I don't want to waste that because I'm injured or I'm sore because I went out and climbed mountains for half a day. And that's one of the big ones for me. Does that really help drive you to the next hunt? And that's the focus point to hit the gym and keep training?
absolutely, absolutely. And just to see, like, it's the competitive nature behind dudes as well. Like, I see my friends in wheelchairs or whatnot, or not even wheelchair, but I see these guys harvest these animals. I'm like, man, like, I want to do that. You know what I mean? There's so many things where people are like, oh, you're in a wheelchair, you can't do that. You're in a chair, and I'm like, all right, I'll take you up on that one. Like, and I just like prove people wrong. So that's definitely something. Yeah, it's just that itch. Like, well, it's adventure. What's around the corner. Like, I've never been here. I want to go there. I've never done that. I want to do that. And it's just, yeah, seeking that next adventure. Cause like I said, like I used to travel the world snowboarding and adrenaline and stuff like that. And like, once you're in that kind of mind state and like, that's what you seek after, like it doesn't leave you. You're on the grind and you seek out that feeling, and like you said, like being here at home, it's like you get complacent. It's easy to get complacent, and complacency is an incredibly addictive drug. Being comfortable is nice. Like laying back on the couch, watching TV or whatever, eating a bowl of ice cream, like it's nice. You can enjoy it, and you could make a career out of it, dude. So it could go downhill really fast, but I like being out there and doing stuff that frankly like scares me. You know, like I like going out there and like, man, like the only way you're gonna grow and grow in life is by doing stuff that scares you. You know, you gotta overcome your fear, and then once you do that and you're able to overcome that fear, then you're like, oh, it wasn't so bad, and then you move on to the next fear, or you move on to the next adventure that's just calling for you. You know, there's just so much out. This world is huge. God made this world massive, and He gave us all this opportunity and stuff to do, and to sit back and not and just sit on your butt and not do anything is kind of like a spit in his face, dude. And like I'm like, I want to go out there and like, yeah, I'm in a wheelchair. Yeah, it sucks. I'm not gonna lie. Like I wish I wasn't. Like it is what it is. But you take up the mantle, you pick your pants up, you fasten your belt, you get out there and you hop on that bull and you ride it, dude. And you make the most of this life, because like I said, no one's here to save you. No one's gonna come back here. Here's a dose of fun, enjoy. It's like, no, like you got to get up, get out, figure out your logistics, figure out your problems, what problems are you going to run into. Like pick your butt up, you get out there and you figure it out. Like that's why I go along with my dad sometimes, you know, I bring him along sometimes, and it's, we run into problems like, all right, let's stick our heads together. Let's figure out a way to get through this. And, you know, it might be a Jimmy rigged situation where like we got by with, you know, with some fishing line, a toothbrush, and an apple. You know what I mean? But we made it work. You make things work. If you're dedicated enough to your goal, you'll make it work. You'll figure it out. You'll grind away until you get there. You'll get there eventually. Just like I said, just keep rolling, man. You just got to keep rolling. Don't stop.
I love the mindset, and I love the positivity and resilience that you show. And man, you've done some cool things, because there's a lot of people that probably haven't done half of what you've done, and they're not in a wheelchair. And that, you know, amazes me when I sit there and say, you know, how many people just are addicted to sitting on the couch and just watching the idiot box day in, day out. And it's easy, as you said, and complacency is really easy to get into that routine that's not great for you. But you're not doing that. You've got more obstacles than someone else might have, but you're taking upon that challenge. I love the reality and your ability to say, hey, yeah, this sucks a little bit. Do I wish I was in a wheelchair? No, but hey, it is what it is. I'm just going to deal with it. You know, so true props to you, man. That's such a positive thing. And, you know, from a role model perspective, that's fantastic. And I really do wish you the best and hope you get up that Outfitters and get other people in similar situations, and let them have the ability to experience what you have and do some of the cool stuff that you've done. Because as I said, there's a lot of the population that haven't done that, and they probably never will. So you're definitely ahead of the curve for that.
So yeah, I come across a lot of people who like, oh, I wish I can do that. I wish I could do that. And I ask them like, so what's stopping you, dude? Like, why can't you do that? Oh, I don't know. I gotta pet my cat. My cat's allergic to onions. I gotta pet him so he's okay. And I'm like, dude, like, you can make excuses for everything. Like, excuses are easy to come by. They're easy to throw out there. They're easy to pick up. And it's like, that's what it's about, dude. Like, excuses. Are you gonna make an excuse, or are you gonna handle it, dude? You know, put up or shut up. So,
mate, I love it. Inspirational, to say the least. I really appreciate your time today coming on the podcast. I have loved watching your journey, and I most definitely will continue. I hope at some stage down the future we can get you on again and see what's new and what's been happening. And any last things to send out to the people of Australia, or mind you, we do have a worldwide listenership. So any messages for them?
Yeah, well, dude, there's, like I said, you can make an excuse. It is what it is. Life's going to throw challenges at you. Life's going to throw lemons and hardballs at you. You take them, dude. You muscle through them, and you get through to the next day. That's what it is. It's a day after day. Are you going to make excuses, or you're only here for so long? Each day is a new day. You're going to die eventually. It's a given, you know, it's just as the sun rises one day, you're going to die. So, get out there, have fun, you know, just Go out there, hug a tree. Who cares what it is, dude? Like, life is beautiful. There's so much nature out there. Go out and sit in nature. It'll make you happy. You know what I mean? And if you guys want to check out what I got going on, and I'm on Instagram at T8_outdoorsman. So that's T8_outdoorsman. I'm trying to live my life and just help people with disabilities and just live life. There's a lot of life to live out there, and I want to do my best to show y'all how it's done. So check it out.
And mate, you're doing a fantastic job. So mate, keep doing what you're doing. There'll be all the links in the show notes anyway, so you'll be able to just click on there and it'll take you straight over to Derek's Instagram, and I'll obviously link everything up on my Instagram as well. Mate, really appreciate your time. It's such an inspirational story. I'm so glad we've had the opportunity to talk today, and keep doing what you're doing. Cannot wait to see where your journey takes you. And mate, yeah, keep on keeping on. Love it.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate you having me, man. It's cool. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, it's been cool. Really enjoyed it. So, all right, guys, thanks for listening. Bye for now. If you have a topic, guest, question, or any gear that you want to hear about on the podcast, shoot us an email, australianhuntingandbeyond@gmail.com. Alternatively, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All the links are in the show notes. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a review and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.